Yeah, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Today we are chatting about a little sequel to last week's episode, which was dieting, created for beginners or made simple. This one today is all about training and training programs and how we should train. How training's been so, just like dieting has been so overcomplicated as of recent years. Um, yeah, so it's been through the fitness industry as well. It's been such an overcomplicated subject, where you'll see so many fitness influencers giving you like these super complicated techniques where, like, oh, you have to have your arm at a 90-degree angle and then contract the bicep at this angle, and just like doing a bunch of stuff that are like a bunch of exercises that make it too complicated and too hard for people to follow. So this can apply for, gym techniques is a big one, running techniques, and a lot of different styles of exercise. Swimming's a big one, but, that's like acceptable. You need, you know, an adequate technique of, different swimming styles to be able to, actually swim. But gym techniques is like the biggest one, as well as running. As you know, running's become a very big topic recently. Everyone and their dog has just decided to become a runner, and there's been so many running influencers coming out recently. And there are 100 types of different, types of training for both endurance and gym work, and they can vary for each sport. But it shouldn't become complicated, especially to people who are in the early stages of, learning different training methods and styles and skills. They shouldn't be pushed into the deep end with all these different, complicated techniques and training styles that aren't easy to follow. A lot of the time, different sports, especially with athletes, their training styles will differ. And most people who are getting into exercise don't need to be, bombarded with all this training information. Sometimes, and that's not to say that, a lot of social media influencers, target audiences aren't people who, are at that elite level. A lot of time, like Joe Burgles, for example, he targets, higher level athletes and athletes that want to get, fast and explosive, and he trains them very well. He's a very educated trainer, and he makes it clear who his target audience is. But some fitness influencers don't make it clear who their target audience is to, and then these beginners start to follow the big algorithm, and they get introduced to all these super complex exercises, where they just get so much like information. Sometimes that's not even true about how to do exercise properly, and they just become lost, and then they don't know what they're doing. They just become lost in the gym, lost with running, and all this other stuff. A big trend that's started recently is the hybrid athlete trend. And I love it. I love that it's becoming a big thing for people to, learn to run and lift. But I don't think we need to over glorify this hybrid athlete, claim. It shouldn't be as big of a statement as it is. I believe that a hybrid athlete is just someone performing to their peak physical fitness for longevity. Being able to lift and run should be not a stand. It should be an above standard level of fitness for people who want to live for a longer amount of time. I feel like to be a hybrid athlete, you have to be, adequate in a bunch of different training methods. So a hybrid athlete that I've been following, not as of recent, but for the past, 5-6 months, is I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Jake Jake Engike, I don't know. I'll put his Instagram just above here, but basically he's done Ironmans, marathons. He's a power lifter. He's been in bodybuilding competitions, so he's been through the experience of stripping away a lot of fat and staying lean whilst retaining a lot of muscle. He's also done triathlons, and he's just an all-around beast. And it's people like that who, they can cycle, they can swim, they can run, they can lift heavy, they can bodybuild. It's people like that who I think have the right to call themselves a hybrid athlete, as he has it in his bio, in all caps, just letting people know. And yeah, it's become a massive thing recently. And it's great. It's great that people are getting into running and lifting at the same time, because that's the best way to live, for long periods, for a longer period in your life. But I think it's just been over-glorified, and people are just claiming that title a little bit too easily. And I also lift and run, but I don't call myself a hybrid athlete, because I know that I'm not an excellent swimmer, cyclist, runner, or bodybuilder. So I think you have to, exceed in those categories just to be able to call yourself a hybrid athlete. And stuff like that, bringing back to the main topic, that make everything so complicated of what people want to be and what they want to do with their training and all that stuff. There's a big difference for people to understand. There is a difference between training for general health and training for, performance and for aesthetics. So training for general health, you'll see it with a lot of, mothers and fathers. They'll, get up early in the morning, go for a walk with the dog, and maybe after their work, they'll come home and go to the gym maybe once to 3 times a week. And that for them is good enough for general health. And that's good, that's great. And, especially going to the gym. The gym is one of the most beneficial places for people to, keep longevity, as, keeps your muscles and bones strong. And it creates this, stimuli and discipline for you to keep going. And by keeping that going for a long amount of time, it stops you from just sitting down and being sedentary for so long. As especially when you get older, it's a lot harder for you to be active and keep on exercising, because your drive just lowers so much and you focus more on, working and personal life. So general people would, they would either strength train or just run. And compared to an athlete who will, most likely do both. In a lot of sports, most athletes will be doing both gym and their specified cardio, sometimes even in one day. So they'll, do a training session or running session in the morning, and they'll lift later in the day. And this can differ for a lot of different sports. Athletes have all different training plans. An example would be a swimmer. They would prioritize their cardio, their swimming cardio, way more than they would their gym and weight training, because their main idea is they want to be able to glide through the water, quickly, and they don't need to hold that much muscle mass, because they're already building it in swimming. They're already building their back, their lats, their shoulders, their traps. They're building everything in the water, because the water still acts as resistance. And because you can do that type of cardio at short intervals, zone 2, speed training, because you can do it all those 3 different levels, you can train your muscles differently. And that's how they will find stimuli, and that's how they eventually grow. Although you won't see, if you're prioritizing back growth, you won't see it grow as quicker in the water as you would in the gym, because the gym is constantly giving you stimuli in all different parts of the back. Like sometimes when you're swimming, you won't be able to hit every part of the back that you can in the gym. So yeah, like I said earlier, training for performance and training for aesthetics is very different. For performance, a lot of the time you'll see, let's say, a rugby player. They won't be grabbing, let's say, a 110 kilo rugby player who can bench the 40s. They won't be going to the 30s and putting in the most specific form possible to hit every single part of their chest. They'll most likely go for the flat bench press, where they can put up as much weight as possible and then hit a strengthening rep range. So that could be anywhere between like 3 and 6 reps, where you're prioritizing strength and not muscle growth, which is what, the main idea of training for aesthetics is. You want to grow your muscles, but it doesn't matter if you put up the most amount of weight. Another one with training for performance, a lot of athletes, they will train the movements that they might do in game. And this comes in the form a lot of the time with plyometrics with field athletes. So track and field athletes use plyometrics a lot. Footy players, rugby players, soccer players, like almost every field athlete will be putting in some sort of plyometric exercise into their schedule, into their gym routine. This is because plyometrics helps you become more explosive and agile, which in all field sports you basically need. You want to be making sure your feet are touching and leaving the ground at the quickest rate possible. That's why a lot of the time field athletes will have plyometrics in their program. A common ground for all, general health, aesthetics, and performance, a common ground for all these different, training types or outcome types, I guess you could say, is that they all have high strength training. So they should all try and aim for their last set to be going to failure. So let's just say even if the general health group are lifting half the weight of the performance group, they should all still be trying to go to muscular failure at the end of each set. That's just a common ground for anyone that wants to see muscle growth, strength growth, is that you should really try and take yourself to your limits on your last set of your exercise. So let's say you get to your top set of 20 kilos on incline bench press. Once you get up to that 12th rep, if you're not struggling to get it up and it's taking 3-4 seconds to get up, maybe you should just go up in, maybe 2.5 kilos. So go from the 20s to the 22s, 22.5s, and see how far you can get. If you get 8 reps with that, that's great. Because when you progressively overload, so when you up the weight or up the reps or up the sets of the exercise that you're doing, you should try and push yourself further than you did before. So a lot of the time when you see progressive overload, they mainly go for weight, but in different exercises, you can't go up in weight because, for example, lateral raises, let's just say I use 12.5 kilos for lateral raises and I can get 12 reps, and the last one I'm struggling, but I can still get it fairly easily. If I go up to the 15s, I wouldn't be able to get 5 clean reps. So instead of going up in weight, I would get the 12s, and instead of doing 3 sets of 12, I would do 4 sets of 12, and then maybe the last set would be of 10. Or I do 3 sets of 14. Because it's such a hard exercise to increase in weight, it makes it much easier to just up the reps or up the amount of sets that you do for it, so you can still progressively overload. So yeah, general people, they should all be strength training, and if they can add in a form of some enjoyable type of cardio, whether that's playing your favorite sport like basketball, soccer, footy, playing at a local club, or even going for a bike ride, going for a roll on the erg, or just going for a swim, or swimming down at the beach if you're near the water. Doing something like that, it will encourage you and make you more eager to do your cardio. Because a lot of the time people don't realize sports like basketball and footy, you're running at such high paces for such a long period of time. Because you're running at such a high speed, your body burns so much energy so much quicker than you think. I think I might have said this in an episode a while ago, but for example, I was doing basketball training the other week, and in my training it went for an hour, but I ended up burning about 400 or 500 calories, because a lot of the time, in basketball, you're changing direction and cutting and running to the other side of the 3-point line and all that other stuff, you're going to be working a lot harder than you actually think. So let's get on to now the topic of athletes with their training plans. Like I said before, like a swimmer would prioritize their time in the water rather than in the gym because their cardio is more important to the amount of strength they have. And marathon runners are the same. They do go into the gym they would go like 2 or 3 times a week. That's to just keep your muscles getting that stimuli, so they're not wearing away. They're still maintaining the amount of volume and strength that they have. That's why strength training, no matter if you're doing cardio or not, is so important. But for footy players would lift heavy and run far and run fast. So they would be trying to run, midfielders would be running like 12 Ks a game, but they'll be running at high speeds, but they also need to lift heavy and they need to do their gym work so that they're able to compete against all the other bigger bodies on the field. Just some general tips for people who are just beginning to get into training. I recommend just starting gym work. You can do whatever tickles your fancy. It really doesn't matter. Doing gym work is the best form of exercise for longevity. Just even going into the gym and just going there for like 20 minutes just to check out where everything is and see, what you want to do. That's just a great start. Another tip for, just general people starting to get into training is you should always try to, progressively overload. And it's a great start if you can, test out what your max for like most of your lifts is. So like most of your main lifts, like check out what your max amount of pull-ups are, max amount of dips, bench press, squat, deadlift if you're into it. If it's, too bad for your back with a straight bar, I recommend going for trap bars. They're a lot better on your lower back, and it's much easier to, get your hamstrings and your glutes involved in that movement. But I don't want to get too specific into, techniques and all that because, as the title says, it shouldn't be overcomplicated. It should be fairly easy to follow, and it should be easy for literally everyone and anyone to be able to get involved. I'd say in terms of how often and how long you should be at the gym for, an hour is plenty of time to go to the gym, and maybe just, 3 times a week to start off with, or even 2 times a week, depending on your schedule. And once you start to get a feel for, how the gym's going and all that other stuff, you can eventually just up the amount of days that you go and change your split. Seriously, feel free to do whatever splits you want. And actually, I recommend changing splits like every couple months or so. If you're starting to go 3 times a week, I recommend just doing like a upper lower. If you're planning to go 3 times a week, I recommend doing, like a chest and try or chest and bi, back and bis or back and tries, and then like a legs day. Yeah, like when you're starting off, I know I said before to always try and go to muscular failure on your last sets, but if you try to do that when you start off and you haven't been to the gym for a while, you will feel unbelievably sore the next day. So it's key to just, instead of going as hard as you can at the start, just try and, test all the movements, see what works best for you. Like if the flat bench hits your chest better than the incline dumbbell, then stick to the flat bench and keep doing that. And if the pec deck doesn't feel as good as maybe as dips do, then keep doing dips. It's all like different to everyone else. Everyone feels the stimuli to their muscles a lot differently. So just experiment as much as you can with different exercises. Even the wacky ones where like you're sitting upside down, just like doing sit-ups all the way up and doing a shoulder press at the end. Like do every sort of movement you can and don't feel embarrassed about it. Half the time, people don't go to the gym because they are scared of judgment from everyone else. Half the time when you're in the gym, no one's looking at you. Most of the time, they're just looking at themselves and seeing how good they look. So yeah, literally feel free. Just do as many movements as you can. Feel what's good for you. Um, just start going 2-3 times a week to your local gym. If you can, and if there's a person at the front there, ask for a tour. See what's around your gym. See what movements look good to you. Know where everything is, because that's one of the most demonizing feelings, is going into a gym and not knowing where anything is, not knowing where the toilet is. By just starting to go to the gym, literally just signing up, you've already done about 50% of the work of your training progress. So yeah, get started. See what works for you. Train 2-3 times a week. First starting off, do that for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Just see how you feel. Get an understanding of what's good for you, all that other stuff. Have a good diet, even though, I know this is about training and that should be simple, but have a good diet, because diet is about 70% of all your progress in terms of, like fat loss and all that stuff, but we won't get into that. Train 3 times a week. Once you get into the groove of training, last set, always muscular failure. You should really be pushing yourself to your limits and trying to progressively overload. And that's the next one. Try and progressively overload. Just like try and slowly increase the weight, every week or two, especially when you're starting out. You'll notice newbie gains. You'll notice like muscle development a lot quicker, and you'll notice the amount of weight that you lift over like a month or two, it just skyrockets compared to what you were starting off with. And last tip, I've preached this on my Instagram, like on everything, is if you find it really hard to just get into the gym, just bring a mate or two. Having them there, like you're way more comfortable out in public with your mates than you usually are just by yourself. So by bringing them, it will make it that much easier for you to start and get onto your training journey. I'll put all my just little tips in the caption below, in the show notes, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed this episode. I hope all the people who are thinking about getting into training and wanting to, get on their fitness journey, take something from this, use it for themselves and use it to better themselves. Again, guys, in Spotify, I think there's always like a Q&A or like a comment or suggestion thing below the episode. Feel free to suggest anything that you're interested into, even if it's not related to health and well-being, because I feel like these episodes will be a lot more entertaining if I'm getting into stuff where I don't know what I'm talking about. And I've got a few episodes planned about, the psychology of like how people think and all that stuff, but I won't get too into it, keep it a little bit of a surprise for you guys. But I really do want to learn about stuff that I have no clue what I'm talking about, which is, what I'll do most likely on my chatting shit with segment episodes. I want to learn about stuff that I don't know about. I feel like you guys will enjoy it if you're learning and you're going on the journey with me of maybe looking like an idiot, not knowing that Portuguese is a language and stuff like that. But yeah, feel free, just, chuck in the comments or even shoot me a DM saying, I reckon you should do a topic about this. Like, it can literally be anything. I'm open to all suggestions. But yeah, again, hope you guys all enjoy this episode. Hope you guys all have a great day. Feel free to, share this episode, share whatever episode you love the most. Let people know about it. Give it a like and a rating above. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.